Okay, day two of Mishlei 25, 9 through 10. Rivcha es riv re'echa v'sod acher al tagal, hen yechasedcha shomea v'dibaska lo tashuv. So fight your fight with your fellow, but do not reveal another's secret, lest the hearer disgrace you and your defamation or your evil report will not return. Isaac, do you remember asking a question about acher, sod acher, and how to read it?
Yes.
Yeah, what was the
Yeah.
question?
Um, is it the secret of another or another secret?
Okay. So Peskin commented on YouTube, as he is wont to do. He says Ibn Kaspi addresses Isaac's question. I don't know if that's the question he was referring to. He writes that Solomon could have said this so do al tagal, but instead chose to frame it as a general statement, the maxim, do not reveal another's secret, because this is a common occurrence. Oh, maybe this is not referring to that. I don't know. We'll read it anyway. I think this is Ezra's Pshat, where people, due to their closeness, reveal to each other their deepest secrets, and then when there's a rift in the relationship, they go about publicizing them. Right? That was your Pshat, right? Yeah. Fox understands this similarly in total, but this is why I'm reading this now instead of later. I know of three ways to read Visod Acher al Tagal. One, do not reveal another's secret, referring to a third party. Two, which I think was what actually, no, we assumed both. Two, do not reveal, that is, bring up another irrelevant secret, referring to Re'acha. So,
Yeah. So this is
and
I
do
was
not
asking
reveal
options
another's
two and
secret
three.
stated as a maxim, yet referring to Re'acha. Yeah, say again.
Yeah. So I was asking about options two and three because
Okay, right.
when you initially translated, you said that it has to be three,
Okay.
and
Right,
yeah,
as opposed to another secret, right? So
yeah,
okay, correct. Yeah, yeah, right, right. I said it had to be a noun, but it's this could be an adjective. Yeah, right. That's
yeah, yeah. Meaning that it's there's whatever secret the riv is about, and
yeah.
then there's another secret.
Okay, right, correct. By the way, I printed up new packets because I didn't know if this continued, and I left them at home. So yeah, I forgot if this continues on to the next page, whatever. Okay, so our questions were not very many. What is the setting, context, or decision-making scenario? Obviously, assuming it's a continuation of the last one. And who is the reacha? Two, is this telling you how to conduct your riv, and if so, how? Three, what is this sod acher? What kind of secret? Whose secret is it? Is it a third party's or an opponent's? And if it's your opponent's, how do we square that with acher? Since Reacha and Acher seem to be two different people, but now we have a way to read it that way. Four, what's the relation between Riv and the Gili Sod, or the Sod and the Diba, or the Sod and the Chisuda? Why might you reveal it? Five, what does Yechasedcha Shomea mean? What is the Chesed? Who is the Shomea? How does he Chesedify you? Or how will he? Six, what is the Diba? And seven, why can't it be retracted? Okay, so we had I think Ezra's is actually a different approach here. So we had three approaches, or four, I guess, to do Mitzvahs David. So Isaac's was that basically you're going to do whatever it takes to win the fight because you're in fight mode, and you might end up revealing something that has nothing to do with the issue, and it'll be apparent that you're just trying to win the fight, and that's going to be bad for your cause. At the very minimum, people are going to see that you're not motivated by the actual Riv, and that will make you look bad. Or in insulting the other guy, that's going to make you look bad. There's a lot of ways that it can make you look bad. I don't think we have to commit to just one. And the nuance here is that well, let's see. I wrote your sod is being framed as a diba. You think you're revealing the sod for a constructive purpose, but in reality, it's a diba, and that's how it's taken. Yeah, Isaac.
I think one other harm that it'll have is if you're focused on the matter and you making good arguments,
Yeah.
then people will be like, oh yeah, this guy is right. But then when you start bringing in other like slander, then now you no longer have that. You're not going to be perceived that way.
Right. So use that ethos of actually caring about the issue. Yeah. Okay. And then Ezra Fader said this is about a quarrel between actual friends. So reacha is like literal reacha, or not literal, but I guess like close reacha. In reality, there's a real relationship, but that can be temporarily disrupted by Riv. In the heat of that Riv, you might reveal your friend's secret, a secret you only know because of the friendship, and you only reveal because in that moment you're viewing him as an acher, someone like you're breaking identification. But that could lead to a permanent harm to the friendship. There are other ways to go about pursuing your quarrel, which is what the pasuk is endorsing in a b'diavad way, but this is not one of them. Fight him like a friend, not like an acher. So I do want to read the Ibn Kaspi because he says it really well. There's two Ibn Kaspis. First one is Rivcha Riv Hatam al Ilu. I think it's supposed to be Ilu Tichnos Hamedina Beinecha uvein re'acha. I think Medina here is like not country, but like a medainim, like a a quarrel. Al tegal hasod shegiluhu lecha ba'od shayisa imo b'chiba v'ahava. Don't reveal the secret that was with him. That was shahayisa imo that you had with him in a state of chiba and ava. And then the second period, she's more explicit. Derech schale hazman. Funny. I don't exactly know what he means by those temporal fools. I don't know. Ki ha'achim v'hachaverim asher mitzad kurvasam yigalu sodam ish el reyehu. I don't know. Maybe it does mean people who get lost in the moment. I don't know.
They're not seeing the bigger picture.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. Not long term, like you were saying. So that brothers and friends that, due to their closeness, will reveal their secrets, each other's secrets. Ace. I don't know why they put the patach under there. Echad mehem chavero. So when one of them angers his friend, I guess le'eze siba midivri rivos ha'olam, and due to one of the causes of conflicts, ki az yigale kol ma shenoda eslo misodas reihu. Then you'll just spill all the secrets, all the tea, right? That's what kids say. Ulezeh ba'atzmus lo amar shlomo rivacha riv v'gomer. This so do altagal. That's the point that Peskin was making here. He doesn't say this so do altagal. Rak amar v'sod acher altagal. Ki haisa hamitzvah yoser koleles, to encompass more in the commandment. Okay, fine. I mean, I think the way we said it is fine. I like your diuk of the acher better. I think poetically that's nicer, in my opinion. Okay, so that was that idea. Okay, so then we had a question, which is there a specific emotion that makes you want to reveal a secret, or is it just you're in fight mode, you'll do anything to win? So Moshe Koppel said there's a power play that it restores you to a position where you're like, you're like exposing their underbelly kind of, right? And so the power play helps you. It's not just a particular weapon. And then well, I almost slipped with one of my high school students. Moshe Levin says that there's a pleasure in being right, and the ad hominem attack satisfies the emotion of the pleasure. So you're crossing the streams here. In other words, you want to be right and it's pleasurable. So your psyche will latch onto the things that activate that pleasure sensor, even if it's not a legitimate way to do it. So it's more of a psychological approach here. And then Isaac's thing is that there is such a thing as fighting dirty, and it works, but there is a general recognition that that's not acceptable, and that's going to indict your own character. Okay, then we had David's approach, which is that that it's the oppositional dynamic, becoming an opponent. So things that are divulged in an oppositional framework will lead to a different kind of backlash, where you are where those faults or those secrets are being called into question there. And the cancel culture was a good example of that. And if you had revealed a secret in a different context, someone asked earlier, like, is it saying you can reveal secrets in other contexts? And I said no. And I stand by that, but I think it is revealing. It's showing you that revealing secrets in another context is not the same as revealing secrets here in the context of a fight. Okay, then we have Mitzudas David, who said that I actually want to read Mitzudas David's idea through Rashi. Rashi was a little bit more explicit. Rivcha riv es re'acha v'im al karchach ata tzarich l'riv. If you're forced to fight, ulehochiach im re'acha, and to get into an argument with your fellow, mikol makom sot acher al tagal al tazkir lo dofi avosav shemesu. He specifically says the dead ancestors. Okay, don't reveal the shamefulness of, or the blemishes of his fathers who have died. The ena kol yodin oso. And not everyone knows it, and you're going to reveal it. So that is interesting. Also, I don't think I think he doesn't mean Davka ancestors, but you could reveal like his personal secrets. But I think this is just showing the extent you can go here. Is like those secrets would have died with them. Like they're not going to bring it up, and then you're revealing it. So it's like a real they're not allowed to defend themselves, like Socrates says in his trial, like fighting with all the accusers of the past who are like ghosts now. And I think the rest of the Rashi is the same. So we said here that that the shame is being a holech rachil. That was the term he used, and you won't be able to retract. So our question there was: is this bringing out a new idea or emotion, or is this just another example of more of the same? Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to some other mafarshim here. So I did not have as much time to prepare because I had really bad insomnia. But let's do Immanuel Haromi. Okay, so he had a nice little diuk. Rivcha riv esreacha. Amar derech etza be'es shetariv im adam lo tase kamase haskalim shianichu ta'nosehem vishtadu lo saper begnus hatonim imahem ulsaper dibosehem v'dibos krovehem rak hariv shalcha tariv esreacha v'tomer ta'nosecha. So I'm going to translate and you tell me what the nuance is he's bringing out. I really like the nuance. He says by way of advice, at a time when you're fighting with a person, don't act like the fools who leave aside their arguments and strive to tell the degradation of the participants, of the people who are like arguing with you, and to speak evil reports on them or their relatives. Rather, you should reeve with your fellow and say your arguments. So what's the emphasis here in the way he's reading the pasuk?
Like reeve.
Can you bold one of those words?
Reeve.
I was thinking not others. Like what? How are there? What are the other parties at play here? That's for just the opponent.
So which word did you emphasize?
Rivcha.
Yeah, I think so also. Yeah, right. Yeah, Isaac?
Yeah, I think it's saying stay focused on the argument itself.
Yeah.
And don't like shoot off into just insulting the opponent and degrading them.
Stick to the argument, I think is what he's saying. Rivacha, right? So what we had before, like rivcha, right? Like stick to your argument. Don't bring a beef with other people. This is stick to the riv, which I think is not a new idea, but it is a new strategy practically of ask yourself at every stage, am I actually sticking to the argument, or am I being drawn into debating, or talking about other stuff? I think the rest of it is pretty similar here. Okay. I want to do Saadia Gaon. Okay, not the Targum of Saadia Gaon, but the Pirush of Saadia Gaon, because he's going to segue into the derech nistar. Okay, but first he starts off with a very good courtroom shot. Okay, so he does the pasukim 8 through 10. So again, 8 was al tete la riv maher pen matase b'akrisa b'hakli moskal re'acha. So he says, yeah.
Just one last thing on the last day we just did. If you're fighting the fight for the sake of like what the actual argument itself is, I think that lends itself to the greatest opportunity for you to be open to hearing the other side of the argument. And if you are indeed fighting this argument for the truth, as we all proclaim that we are, then I think that if that's what your focus is, that will actually lend yourself to being most open to arriving at the truth.
That's true. That is true. You're sticking into the objective framework, and that'll keep your mind open and not clouded by the either the ego dynamic or the defensive dynamic. Yeah.
It also gives you more credibility, and also it makes it much less likely that you're going to have like major consequences from this fight.
Correct. By the way, also it makes the other guy look bad, right? Like if he starts insulting you and you just stick to the argument, people are going to see that you're ignoring this other part because it's irrelevant. Whereas if you respond in kind, it's easy for the listeners to also get drawn into the drama of the thing. So I think it just like what's the isn't there an English idiom about someone dragging you down?
Yeah, Mark Twain.
Yeah, what is it?
Don't debate with fools because they'll like bring you down to a level and beat.
Yeah, right. Argue with, I bet he has a lot of, never argue with an idiot. They drag you down to the level and beat you with experience. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So let's do this Saadia Gaon thing. So he says, Pshat hadvarim halalu mizdainim al mamon o karka lifnei shofet. Okay, so that's the scenario. You got your fellow who you're in, your fellow litigant, and then the judge. Okay. He's here kol echad mehem shelo yacharog migvulus havikuach. Shehem hataina v'hatshuva el gvul habizayon v'hacheruf. Okay, so in other words, don't deviate from the boundaries of the disputation, which are taina and shuva, all right, claim and response. So don't deviate from there into the like out of the boundaries into degradation and insult. So he means he intimidates you, but he's like warning you with three things. Harishon, Kadesh. This is going to be an interesting reading here. כדי שלא יגבר עליו יריבו, בהיטרד מחשבתו הוא בכללות ובגידופין ושכנגדו מרכז את מחשבתו בעצם הוויכוח. So the first one is so that your opponent does not cause you to be overpowered by preoccupying your thoughts with insults and curses and insults, while your opponent focuses his thoughts on the disputation itself. Amar b'hachlim oscha. That's what it means when it says when he shames you. So he's learning that as if I'm arguing with Ezra, my fellow litigant, in front of Joshua, the judge, so there's a risk that Ezra will stick to the arguments, and I'm going to get caught up in like wanting to insult him. So that's number one. So he's saying that's kitov amar. No, that's alti to the read my penny tase ma'avisa bahachlim oscha re'acha. So it's interesting because the pasuk makes it sound like your friend is going to shame you. He seems to be learning it as your friend is sticking to the argument and you are getting drawn into that shaming type mentality. Okay, let's do all three and then we'll compare. Basheni, the second is kidei shelo yigar bo hashofet v'yizalzul bo. Second one is that the judge doesn't rebuke you and degrade you. Okay, shnemar pen yechasedecha shomea umusav shem zeh al hashofet kamo shnemar shema bein achechem ushvatem tzedek. Right. So lest the judge call you out, okay, and embarrass you. So that's a clever interpretation of the shomea. And I think when we said shomea, even though we mentioned it could be the court case, I don't think we thought about it as davka three parties. You know, you, the litigant, and the judge. This is very relevant, by the way. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, when people argue in front of a teacher, you know, or whatever, and then you know the teacher calls out one person, you know, but I'm sure parents, you know, like again other like authority figures, I think is the broader interpretation here. Bashlishi k'dei shelo yizbate negdo yarivo b'yoser garua mima shegidfo bo lo yuchol lachzor mima shekavar amar alav. So this is if you hit him back too hard, right? Like he slammed you in one way, and then you hit him back with a diba or an insult that you can't retract. Okay, fine. So do we get any new idea from this? Just from it's just a nice like itemized 3 warnings for 3 psukim here, or is this just more of there are a lot of consequences that could happen here? Like I don't know, is this a new idea or just new particulars? Stick to the argument. Beware that the judge might do something that you're in response to that will make your reputation sullied, and then not being able to retract your debuff. I'm just wondering if there's a new element. The judge part's the newest one to me, and the sticking to the argument is good shot, but that's like we got that with the Emmanuel Haromi.
That's still just a particular.
I think so. Yeah. All right, fine. So let's do the Derek Nistar now. So he says like this. I don't think I read this part. I just saw him start to talk about Derek Nistar. Uvichlalo included in this. So arguing about religion or science, okay, or knowledge. He's warning each one to not deviate from the boundaries of the disputation. Dvekus with philosophy. Dvekus b'derech ha'iyun Kabbalah Sadavra Bedomelo. So in other words, don't deviate from the boundaries of the argument that you are clinging to in the process of the analysis or in the drawing of parallels to what's similar to it. Let's see what he says. V'shelo yovil mishpat ha'ila be'olul, and that Shlo yovial. That's one of those modern Hebrew words. I always forget yovial is to move, I think. Yovial mishpat ha'ila be'alul. And mishpat here is using in the logical sense. So let's see if we can figure it out from context. For one of 3 reasons. So he's gonna play it through the 3 things. O sheyacharog min ha'ila shelo le'ilas zulaso. I think ila might be premise here, not cause. Like I think like logical cause. So that you deviate from your premise to the premise of the other person. Mechayev davar ledavar pa'am besiva musuyemes pa'am besiva acheres. And you will end up necessitating something, sometimes due to a specific cause, one cause, sometimes due to another cause. So what I think he's saying here, and again, maybe I'm just grasping for straws here. I think he means be careful to not inadvertently adopt the premise of your opponent and then get ensnared based on that acceptance of the premise. Example that comes to my mind is in 10 Philosophical Mistakes. Adler points out that one of the big philosophical mistakes that differentiated modern thinkers from the ancients, from like the pre-17th century thinkers, was accepting this premise that you need to prove the existence of external reality. And that's what gets you tied up in a bunch of epistemological like quandaries and like solipsism and skepticism and all that stuff. And like once you even go into that realm where you grant your opponent the need to like prove that, then you've already fallen into the quicksand and you can't get out. Or maybe another example of this is like, there is a hard standard that people accept in the study of history nowadays, which is that if there's no external corroboration, then the thing didn't happen. And that is not always warranted when talking about ancient history, because in certain areas, then like there is no way that you can have external corroboration of the thing. So you could easily, like, by granting that premise and then trying to argue with them within that premise, then you've already lost. But you think you're winning because you are arguing against the particular, but you've accepted their premise and you've become ensnared in that. Or let's say like another thing is certain epistemological premises about like I remember when I was in Turo getting into an argument with one of my interestingly religious psychology teachers, that like he seemed to be an epistemological materialist and said that the notion of a non-physical thing is a contradiction in terms like a square circle, and like I don't know how he could be religious and think that, but like or maybe he just wore the yarmulke to Turo, I don't know. But like so like you have to be careful, just be very careful to not adopt the premise that your opponent has unconsciously, right? There's a technique where you adopt like a reductio ad absurdum or something like that. So I think that's what he's saying. I don't know. Okay, let's go on. Yitain hadavar liyarivo al hoda aso, or grant the thing. Oh, maybe that's what he's saying. Oh, whoops. Or grant the matter to your opponent by way of admission. Because yisbar lecha ikvus mash mischayev mikach choser bo b'shlila ukfira. Now maybe that's different. You grant that you admit on a certain thing, and then when it becomes clear to you the consequences that are necessitated by a thing, then you retract and you deny. No, I think that's a different thing, right? Clear to for sure use bar low. He's talking about you in the third person here. That's the confusing thing, right? So I think this is like, I'm getting a sense here that this is like you admit something to him in one stage of the argument, and then when you realize it gets you in trouble, then you backtrack, right? So in other words, it's so this is like, that's interesting. I mean, I'll tell you, to me, psychologically and practically, this is different than the first case, because first case is not being aware of the premises of his thing and then stepping into it without realizing it. Second one is like sometimes you're arguing with someone, and because you want to focus on the argument at hand, you're like, okay, like fine, that I'll accept that makes sense, and then you don't realize that he was laying a trap for you there. And then need to go back and like deny that, and then it makes you look like you're just trying to get out of trouble.
Right.
So it's not accepting the premise, it's saying that he's won on a particular point, and then you go back and say, well, no, not so fast, well, but you just said that you just said I made sense here, which one is it, like okay, o yisvakiach neged echad hamuchash hagluyim. Or you argue with him on something that's a fact, like he says, empirical fact. Okay, how's he getting this in the psukim here? Let's see. Ve'ela shlosha heim suge hashtaka, silence. Hagormim la'adam lehishtatek v'lo yichol lahamshich havikuach. Interesting. These are the three causes of silencing. meaning the things that cause a person to be silent and not able to continue in the argument, like dead ends, basically. Like you can't get out of it. L'chein he's hero milahis hafech b'matan hasibos b'amro b'haklim. Oh, now he's going to explain to the pasukim. Therefore, he warns you against the exchange in the granting of premises b'amro b'haklim oscha re'acha by saying when your friend shames you. V'shlo yaftiu yarivo v'yomar lo ha'im lo kach amarta, and to not yaftia. Hofa means to appear or manifest. What is the yaftio? Yarivo, when your friend confronts you by presenting, saying v'yomer lo ha'im lo kach amar. Didn't you say blah blah blah? So that's when he catch. Say again. Oh, surprise! Oh, yeah, that could be right. So he catches you off guard. We would say right by saying, "Didn't you say this?" Martio milahachish ma shekavar hodabo, or he I think martia means something else here. So he's warning you against denying what you've admitted. Bo ba'amro pen yechasedecha shomea. Oh, so this is the second category. I thought he already went to the second category. When it says, lest the listener shame you, shelo yecharfuhu hashomim shezuchurim lahem devarav. When the listeners remind you of what you said earlier, right? And they catch you in that. V'garbo milachachish es hamuchash, and then he rebukes, he warns you not to deny what is deny the facts, v'hanira, and that which is evident. Amro v'dibasko lo tashuv, saying you can't retract your statement. Shlote alav diba shu nohag kasachal. So okay, that's a very loose interpretation. So that you can't retract the diba that was said about you for acting like a fool. Fikach, we're going to summarize this in a second. He's here. He's here me'elu shlosha sugi hashtaka va'ase kol hamauchar mehen yoser guro min rishon. It's going in ascending order of severity. V'lo nishar misugi hahashtaka k'im hashtika v'hi hatova shebehen. And the only hashtaka that remains is the shtika, which is the best of them. Shehe adam kasher mechayvim also advarim shosek. That when a person forces you into one of these things, then you're quiet, you're silent. Better to turn away from this to the truth in speech and in action. Let's just try to summarize this just to get the pin this. I realize that'd be so long, but I think it's an interesting, somehow it's like very Saadia Gaon. I don't know. I feel like it's like Emunas Video style of Saadia Gaon, like rigid categories that line up to psukim. Okay, so Saadia Gaon is, there are three ways. Oh, I only have 3 minutes. 3 ways that a person can trap you, right? One is getting you to accept a premise without realizing it. 2 is getting you to admit that he was right, and then forcing you to backtrack. And then the third is getting you to deny a manifest fact, right? I think those are the 3. And so this is saying, so how do we get this into the psukim here? B'hachlim oscha re'acha. So your fellow embarrasses you by getting you to realize that you already accepted his premise, and then getting you to backtrack is, did he say Rivcha Rives Reachav so Achar Al Tagal? No, sorry, Pen Yichasedcha Shomea, right? The listener will remind you of that you already granted your opponent victory on a point, and then getting you to deny manifest fact is the bad report about you acting like a fool by denying a fact you cannot retract, right? I mean, it is an interesting thing, right? I mean, when you catch someone denying something that is a fact, or that the argument is premised on something that's just a manifest fact, it is a very embarrassing thing. Okay, so I didn't realize that'd be so long, but it is an interesting way to look at it. I wish we did one about not revealing a sod in terms of sodos of Matthias, esoteric sod. Okay, but I gotta go now. All right, interesting psukim though. Yeah. All right. See you later. Thanks.
Thank you.